Alright, not to get bougie, but hey there everybody, you royal rippers. How's everybody doing? My name is Brian Von VA, and I will be your guide into D&D today. Now, before we begin, I just wanted to say we have a brand spanking new channel called Riptovia, where we're going to be showcasing happy, horror, plain old D&D stories, all sorts of D&D stories, not just the ones that you're getting here, but all of them. So if you would like to hear all of that, please go check out the link in the description below and hit that sub button. All the love, everybody. Now let's get right into it, shall we? Players of D&D, how did your character ascend to godhood? Part 1. So, I'm the DM for this one. Ooh, nice. One of my players gave me full control over their backstory, and they ended up the child of 2 gods. The only thing is, in my campaign, you can't become a god by killing them. You have to prove to the current gods that you are worthy. It's going to be a plot point that they end up as a god. Played a one-shot as part of a party of 3. We were told we had to make an evil character and that we were on a mission to recruit new followers to our cult. The cult was called the Children of Bliss, and the basic idea was that whatever you made happy, you were supposed to do it as much as you wanted. Sounds good in theory, but it included drugs and murder and all sorts of terrible things and reminds me heavily of Far Cry 5. Plus, there was the tiny detail of monthly blood sacrifices. Oh yeah, leave that one out of the clause. Another issue was that the cult actually had no deity. They only hoped that through their prayers they would create one. Anyway, my character was a paladin devoted to the cult. She became the party face and used her charms to convince hundreds of country folk to join the cult. By the end of the game, she and her 2 companions had become the shadow government in the capital. In the epilogue, the DM explained that the actual leader of our cult grew to be jealous of my character's success and began plotting her removal. She was wise to his schemes, and with the help of one of her companions, assassinated him and took his position. Later, she realized she was dying of an incurable illness. When I rolled her stats, she got a whole whopping 3 in her con stat, and decided she would use herself as the blood sacrifice and use the love and belief of her followers to become their god and save herself. The ritual went off without a hitch, and she ascended as a hero deity, the Mistress of Bliss. She had a new skeletal form, but could no longer die by mortal means. Come, join in her merriment. Offer yourselves to her. Indulge in all your wicked desires. There's an ongoing story for my changeling character to defeat the Traveler, god of changelings and deception, and take his place. I have no idea how this will play out, even though the character is collecting components of a legendary god killer weapon and needs to figure out how to assemble it. One of my characters married the demigod daughter of the Traveler, fell in love with her long before she even knew what she was. So one of the other party members asked the Traveler, as a favor for allowing herself to be turned into a vampire so she could be a spy for us during the vampire civil war that was currently going on, to make my character immortal. Because in her words, his wife would kill him if he died and left her alone. That's so true. So my story is actually still in progress. Ooh, cool. The premise of the campaign was that the god of gods, Ao, had pulled each of our characters from different places and planes to his own domain for a test. Basically, he was sick of babysitting the gods and saw these 4 level 10 adventurers as possible successors. So immediately from there, we had to clear your standard maze-style dungeon with puzzles along the way to test our problem solving. Afterwards, we had to live out Ao's memory of one of the times that is driving him into retirement, where the greater god of death started killing off other gods and Ao had to put a stop to it, but not before several gods had been lost for good. Now to where we are currently, and have been for about 2 months out of game. Ao put us back out of his domain or memories into the real world, and it is messed up. Ao had apparently decided to stop giving a crap, and that the best way to test us would be to stop holding the gods back and let them wreak havoc on the world. We even helped them out by stitching all the planes of existence together haphazardly, as you do. We have made a city with a protective bubble around it thanks to my wizard casting the aptly named 10th level spell Bubble, and have been collecting survivors and refugees of the Gods' War to bring to safety, slowly growing our following along the way. As of last session, we are level 24 and lesser deities, though we don't know it yet in character, and the campaign is absolute chaos. I'm so excited to see where it goes next. I am a forever DM. So, not me, but yeah. We were playing a returned game where all the characters were level 20. My player used a wish spell to switch bodies with the big bad evil guy. In doing so, he became this OP AF Dark Lord who could control the undead, plants, and beasts. He also wielded a staff which could summon lightning at will. Originally, I thought he'd stick with being this cool guy, but his wish rolled a f***ing 2. So I made their souls switch with the personality staying similar. Basically, he was now chaotic evil and the Lord was neutral good. So this in turn caused the campaign to change a lot, with him controlling both the Dark Lord and his own character. Okay, so not quite godhood, but I say still close enough where it is hard to tell. So my character has a weapon that can deal 2d6 plus charisma plus 1. That has the finest and reach property from me, taking advantage of the DM's rules. Okay, from this point on, it all taking advantage of the DM's rules, so you all know. My character is a celestial warlock, level 3, and sorcerer, level 1. I got my first dagger to have 3 stones for magic stone. Had to roll an arcana before it could work. Dirty 20, so it worked. Then I got my dagger to use charisma. So another arcana, another dirty 20. Next, I got my dagger to plus 1, which, you guessed it, another arcana, and a dirty 20. So you all know if I failed, I would have had a wild magic effect on the dagger. I tried the charisma thing with my staff, and it screams when it hits something. I then tried to learn how to use spells through my dagger, lots of failed attempts, and then a dirty 20, or nat, but that was after I got my dagger to be able to turn into any weapon, nat 20 on doing that. All 20s were different sessions, so everyone knows. I then became able to have something like the smiting effect. I chose a cantrip and cast it as if it uses a spell slot, but it gains an extra dice roll. Then I tried to combine 2 weapon ideas because the DM said I could. Nat 20, but task failed successfully. I was trying to make like a short sword as a flame tongue without a flame tongue. So I got what I described at the beginning. So everyone knows what I can do. 2d6 plus 4 plus 1d6 plus 3 plus 2d10 at just level 4. Next goal for that character, get a god to forgive him so he can become engaged to them again. Original pact that broke, so yeah. Hi, Player here. And here's the story of how my wizard unintentionally became a god in one of the most godless places in D&D. Curse of Strahd. How dare you? So, those who are familiar with Curse of Strahd should be aware of the mongrel folk, correct? Well, on our first visit to the Abbey, we were guided by Otto, a sweet boy who's unfortunately not the sharpest tool in the shed. I performed all of 2 spells during our visit, Dancing Lights and Invisibility. Now, he has never seen magic before, so these simple wizard feats were quite astounding to him. This led him to question whether or not I was a god. So, like any normal D&D player who wants to give himself an advantage in future situations, I said, sure, then we left. While we were gone, Otto took this light confirmation and ran with it. He managed to convince his entire race, there's not that many mongrel folk, that I was a god, and they began worshipping me, painting effigies everywhere, carving statues, etc. This all happened without my knowledge, by the way. Neither I nor my character had any idea if this was happening. When we finally made our way back to Krisk, the town the Abbey is in, we slept in the town the night before due to machinations we had planned for the abbot. The DM rolled for something, and apparently it had a 5% chance of happening. Well, it did. Thus, I was visited in my dreams by a mummy lady with a gold skeleton who dripped black viscous liquid. She approached me with a proposition. Due to my mortality, I was unable to accept their worship, but through her, I could wield it. Normally, my character would never have accepted a contract like this, but because of Barovia's nature and the circumstances we had found ourselves in before, I ended up agreeing. And so I awoke to new abilities and an appearance change. I became a god. My blood hunter became god of blood and hunting of evil by proving himself to the great High One. Homebrew deity, think Kronos, but still the highest place. He was the last one left in the final dungeon, as all the others had been wiped out by traps and monsters. He refused to run away. His flaw, once he starts something he has to finish it. He fought the final boss, which was the ancient god of chaos and evil, and was unable to defeat. So, he trapped the god in my character's mind and killed him in the mindscape, homebrew plane of existence in constant flux, and can be controlled by psychics and scions. The Great High One saw this and ascended my character to greater deity status. Also, my character can now manipulate the god of chaos and evil to do my character's bidding. Funny enough, she didn't, and that still bothers me. At the end of my first ever campaign, we made it all the way to level 30 and completed the story. Our characters had all been imbued with the power of the gods. My character, the Necromancer, the Ranger, and the Druid were all avatars of their respective deities even. Necromancer became a god of undeath, Ranger became a god of the wild, Druid became a fey god, Witcher became the equivalent of a god over killing abominations, Sorcerer became a god of orphans, and her churches were orphanages. Aww. The monk became a dragon god, the assassin became a god of death and is constantly at war with Nerul. But my bard just died. She was the only character to die at the end of our epilogues because good things die in my campaigns, as the DM said. What? It wasn't a goal of mine, and to some extent, I'm okay with her not being a god, but at the same time, she was also the only one to age other than the monk and Witcher, who both became gods anyway. And the Druid was the only one who wanted to become a god at the end of the story. Just feels weird, man. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Brian here. Just wanted to check in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell for notifications on when we post or when we go live. That being said, it would be a great honor for all of you to join us over on Riptovia, our secondary channel, where we will continue to make stories and put up a little bit of extra stuff too. You guys and gals might want to go over there and check it out if you like our content that much. Also, using a help action, come say hi to me on YouTube, Brian Von VA. I stream games and do all sorts of cool stuff. That being said, I always try to end things on a positive note, and today is no different. I just wanted to say, please be yourselves. I don't want anyone to be someone else or to change for reasons you don't need to. Just be you, because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to go to bed at night with yourself, no one else. Anyone else in the whole wide world, they don't have to know you. They don't have to like you or love you or care about you, but you do. And I'm giving you a hug right now that you can't even see because I want you, all of you, to be happy and secure and safe with who you are. Because honestly, y'all deserve it. So stay happy out there, be healthy, and I will see you next time. All the love, bye for now.